And a good Wednesday afternoon to everyone joining us here on Plate Exchange, a subsidiary of On the Ring Apron and the Mania Club. I'm Steve with On the Ring Apron, bringing to you live from the fortress of my solitude, aka my home office, to bring you another exciting episode of Plate Exchange. For anyone who has ever joined us for one of our shows, this is where we take our replica championship belts. We own as many of them as we can, and we get first opportunity to be able to get WWE's permission to get copies of the new side plates, and then we have a show where we come on here and we talk wrestling while also showing things off. Most of the time we have multiple championship titles that switch and go through their different motions during our shows. However, in this particular instance, we've only had one title change since our last show, and that was what she is calling the tail end of the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, as Liv Morgan successfully at King and Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia 2 weekends ago successfully defeated and subsequently retained over the Man Becky Lynch to win the Women's World Championship, thus completing the Revenge Tour she began almost a year ago when she was injured by Rhea Ripley. Liv has made it a determined point on her side to essentially take everything away that Rhea Ripley had, including not just the championship, but also based on the latest episodes of Raw, she also wants to take her man, as well as we're seeing the flirtatious nature of herself towards Dominic Mysterio. Dominic right now showing off the signs that he is trying to be resistant at the moment, but it does look like his willingness to do so is starting to fade a little, and it's been up to Finn Balor to kind of step in and play the father figure here and say, no, you're doing a little much. But it is interesting to see, the different dynamics between each of the three. Becky Lynch, of course, winning the championship after Rhea was forced to vacate it due to the injury she suffered against Liv Morgan. So now she has to have an opportunity to be able to beat another person that she has never been able to defeat up to that point. And granted, it was on a questionable call and a Dominic mess up on both sides. Liv Morgan was able to pick up 2 victories over Becky Lynch to ultimately win and retain the championship. It's now going to be interesting to see how that dynamic is going to continue to play out as we head into the next premium live event coming up 2 weekends from now, and that is Clash at the Castle in Scotland. At the moment, Liv Morgan is not scheduled to defend the Women's World title, but that is, of course, subject to change heading into that final week. We also, of course, between now and then also have NXT Battleground coming up this Sunday from Las Vegas at the UFC Apex. Myself, as well as Alyssa, are going to be live at that event. We're getting a chance to do our first ever session of media with the WWE, so we definitely are excited about an opportunity to flex that media muscle in a way that's not just us getting on our show. Of course, we have a Top Rope Spoilers for Battleground coming up hopefully tomorrow, where we're going to have myself and Alyssa and Kia get on, and we will have an opportunity to be able to discuss, how things are going, and as well as make our picks for Battleground. 6 great matches on the card, 4 title matches, and of course the first ever premium live event match, which will feature NXT Underground between Lola Vice and Shayna Baszler. But let's go ahead and move on. This won't be a very long episode because, obviously, again, we only have just the one belt to switch up here. And unlike the last time that I did one of these shows, I'm going to actually remember to put the title we're talking about at the bottom, and it is the Women's World title. Ultimately, Liv Morgan is the third person to win this championship behind, of course, Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, as we subsequently spoke about earlier. Rhea held the championship after it was changed over from the SmackDown Women's Championship last year, and held it all the way until her injury at the hands of Liv Morgan 2 weeks after WrestleMania. The next week, Becky Lynch would win the Battle Royal to win the championship and would hold it all the way until King and Queen of the Ring 2 weeks ago, in which case Liv Morgan successfully defeating and subsequently retaining. So we have a lot of Liv Morgan fans out there. Anybody that's in our chat or picking things up after this goes on YouTube the next day. First of all, you see all of our social medias over there on the right-hand side. The thing's backwards. I'm still never getting used to that. But we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. Of course, Mania Club's on there as well. YouTube is our big one where you're going to see most of our media work. So definitely take the time to take a look at us and see what we can bring. And, of course, definitely pay attention this upcoming weekend as we do not just media, but we'll also have the entrances live from inside the UFC Apex at Battleground. But we do speak, of course, about the Women's World Championship, which we have back here. Was, of course, held by the Man Becky Lynch. We had her plates put on here not just a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to move inside the light there so that way y'all can see them, but a very good set of plates there. Same on the other side. And we will now be officially switching to the Liv Morgan plates. But what I'm curious to find out, and usually as I'm switching the plates, we have had Liv's plates on here a couple of times before. She's been a former tag team champion, and of course had the infamous run 2 years ago as the SmackDown Women's Champion after cashing in on Ronda Rousey and holding it for a couple of months. So the Liv Morgan plates will be reintroducing themselves back onto our titles once again. That one's got a little work on it, so I got to get that fingerprint off of that one. But ultimately, a lot of people, have their opinions of Liv Morgan, whether they be positive or negative. See, a lot cleaner, a lot nicer. But also at the same time, when she was coming up through NXT as part of the Riot Squad, and even before then, I don't know that a lot of us would have expected her to be that type of individual that was going to be able to be considered a legitimate top talent in the business. And I think, especially once she got injured, I think that a lot of people thought that maybe that one Money in the Bank push against Ronda Rousey was kind of where it was going to end. But instead, Liv Morgan has come back, and within just a handful of months of winning or coming back from her injury, she not only takes out the current champion Rhea Ripley, but then also subsequently beats Becky Lynch, one of the top champions in the game, twice in order to win the championship back. And this one, not via a cash-in, but a legitimate victory over Becky Lynch. So the question I pose for our audience, and again, TikTok, you're welcome to speak up live now if you'd like to. Hold your thoughts until Top Rope Spoilers, or if you're talking to watching this on YouTube, throw it in the comment section below. Give us your opinion. But essentially, do you feel that Liv Morgan at this stage has done enough to show herself to be a top-tier champion? And I guess to be a little more specific in this particular instance, are we viewing this run with Liv Morgan as champion as just the final culmination of her story with Rhea Ripley, or is this going to be something that will carry on beyond these years to where she is going to be a champion multiple times over the next couple of years as her career continues to go on? So that's kind of the question that I present to you. Is this kind of a one and done for Liv to kind of culminate her story, or is ultimately this the start of the championship caliber A-tier type of competition that Liv Morgan is going to be a part of? The Becky Lynch plates are off, so taking one last look at her updated the Man plates that were made for this particular title. And those will now head back into the box. I've got a good feeling that we will see these again at some point in the future. Of course, we have a completely separate conversation that can happen at any stage. Maybe the ladies want to pour the tea about it or something. But talking about Becky Lynch and the fact that she's currently on, hiatus from WWE. She was supposed to take time off after WrestleMania, and ultimately did come back to kind of fulfill Rhea's role for the rest of this run up until Liv won the championship. But, most people, of course, expecting, her to come back to WWE at some point in the future. But also a lot of speculation and with a lot of cause as well that, of course, companies like AEW and Impact, of course, are going to offer up, most people are expecting her to be handed potentially the largest contract in women's wrestling history for what would expected to be the final contract of her career. So it'll be interesting to see if Becky decides to side with, WWE, I would expect that they would be ones that would be in the higher tier, number 1 or number 2, in terms of what they can offer her. But also at the same time, opportunity to be the star for the foreseeable next few years. Very similar to what Mercedes Moné is going through right now with AEW, is also going to be a very tempting thought as well. I also think, of course, that her husband Seth Rollins will, and his career aspirations will play a role in all of this as well. Because are they going to want to do this together? Are they going to want to stay separate? We'll just have to wait back and see. But inevitably, Becky Lynch has made stars out of several people over the last year or so. You look at people like Tiffany Stratton, Lyra Valkyria, and then, of course, our current champion in this episode, Liv Morgan, where each of these people, thanks to having a good person to go up against like Becky Lynch, they have learned a lot and have been able to walk the walk, and now for a handful of them, not just talk about it, but now walk that same walk that Becky has been able to do now for several years. And, I don't personally think that this is a passing of the torch moment for Becky Lynch to pass it on to Liv Morgan is now the future of the business. I do think that ultimately Becky will still be viewed as top tier upon her return, regardless of which brand or show she ends up at. But, I do think that this is the win that kind of puts Liv into that next category. But I am curious to get your thoughts and, of course, your opinion on the Revenge Tour, and are things truly over for Liv Morgan and for Rhea and Dominic at this stage. But as you can see, the plate exchange is now officially complete, and the Liv Morgan plates are now on the Women's World Championship, getting you a decent look at both of those. And, of course, I'll be posting photos of these on social media, so take a look on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. So that way you guys can be able to get a good look at those as well. But that is our one plate exchange for this episode. Again, a much shorter episode than usual. We don't typically, we typically have several that we're able to chat about in most of our episodes, but in this one, this is the only one we had, so a very quick one, but also one completely devoted to our new Women's World Champion in that of Liv Morgan. So with that, we go ahead and bring it into it. As I said, we're going to be in Vegas this weekend for NXT Battleground, doing media on Saturday, and then, of course, being live at the event at the UFC Apex on Sunday. So definitely take the time. If you spot myself, spot Alyssa, we're going to be in our Mania Club jersey, so definitely look out for us. And let's definitely make sure we go have a good time. Also, follow our social medias. You see them all down there in the bottom right corner. So that way you can be able to follow all of our different shows. I pop up with plate exchanges and just random chats all the time, especially on TikTok. And, of course, as I said, tomorrow we will be presenting Top Rope Spoilers, where we are going to discuss NXT Battleground and make our official predictions. You have the ability to also be able to make your own selections on our show by going to our YouTube page and then going to the community channel where you can be able to place in your votes. But anyway, everybody who took the time to come out and watch for a little bit, even if it was just for a couple minutes, it's always appreciated. We always love the care and support that you guys bring to us. You're the reason we do it. If you guys aren't watching, then we've got no reason to want to continue to keep doing this. But congratulations to our new Women's World Champion in Liv Morgan. And with that, let's go ahead and call it a show, and we will catch y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good one.